Hello, hello, Internet. Hello, hello. Happy
Howdy,
Friday.
Internet peoples.
Yeah, happy Friday. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Thank you for joining us here at Coded Live. So, yeah, it's Friday, and we are all still living in a pandemic. Nothing has changed overnight. So, we still are stuck in our homes mostly. And since we can't travel, we are at least hanging out with the people that we love.
Oh, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I know. So I'm Sam Basu. I'm your host. You see me every day. And actually, this might be something, Guy, I'll talk about that you might find funny what we're doing on stream this week. But today, folks, with me, I have my very, very good friend, Mr. Guy Royse. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Sam?
I'm hanging in there. Yeah.
I gave the obligatory, I'm doing great. How are you doing, Sam? Answer. Because how you doing is sort of that American way of asking, saying hi, right? It's like the British are like, you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Why? Yeah, no, they're just saying, hey, what's up?
I love that. Chat room is getting together. Curious Drive. Good morning, Sam and Guy, the only guy you need to know.
Yeah, I am the guy. Are we going to see chat in here inside of StreamYards or?
Yeah. I can. I don't know if you see it, but I can highlight things as they come along.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it, so I'm going to go out to Twitch and I'll be able to watch everyone as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I can have that wonderful delayed effect of watching me 3 seconds out of sync, and then it's like causes you to freeze up,
Yeah. All the good stuff that we do. Well, at least we get to hang out because Guy is one of those people that I just love hanging out with whenever we're on the road on tech conferences, just to sit down. And Guy has so many stories. So, Guy, why don't you start introducing yourself for the folks who don't know you?
Yeah, well, obviously my name's Guy Royse. I'm a developer advocate at Redis Labs. So I do some of the same sorts of things that Sam does, but for Redis Labs instead of for Progress. I've been writing software for a lot of years. I've got the gray hairs to prove it. People often assume I'm smarter than I am because of a beard. This doesn't actually confer intelligence. It's just a sign of lazy grooming.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
no, you actually have a fantastic beard. I'm jealous.
It needs trimmed. It's getting scraggly on the end. I was visiting my mom the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I need to trim the ends of it." It's like, no, don't touch it. I'm like a teenager trying to grow his hair long,
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so I like your lights in the back. What is the horn sticking out?
Oh, it's part of a Viking helmet I got at reInvent last year.
Of course,
I would put it on, but it doesn't fit over the headset. So,
I mean, with your beard and the Viking helmet, that's a complete look.
Shocking that I have a Viking helmet, right? It was actually really funny. I was at the conference, and I'm manning the Redis booth, and along with 30 other people. It was reInvent's insane, right?
Yeah.
And I'd been with the company 3 weeks, and it's like, hey, you're going to give a talk 4 times. It'll be a 20-minute talk, 4 times each day you're there. I'm like, okay, I'm the expert. Because I'm the new guy, right?
What do you do?
Pun not intended. And I see this company over there, and they have this helmet, and they have these axes. And I walk over there, and I'm like, I feel like I need to interact with your brand. So they got some pictures, and they have a big prize wheel that you would spin, and you could get, because they have that, and they have these plastic axes that make noise. I have it hanging on the wall over here, and they had a big wheel to spin to see whether you get it or not, because it was kind of expensive swag.
Mm-hmm.
And they just gave it to me and took photos and said thanks.
You need it, it fits
yeah well. and then we got some great photos at the event. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get compared to maybe Hagrid at times.
I get Hagrid. I had one person at a conference ask for my autograph, which was really weird, and I think that she might have thought I was Richard Stallman. I don't know. I've had that comparison. I've been compared to the lead singer of Slayer.
Yeah.
Mostly anymore it's Santa Claus.
Yeah, once you're done with
will be fun.
software, like you have a steady job as a model Santa,
Yep.
and
Be a great retirement job.
well, like what other profession lets you be maybe not completely sober and yet have just kids all around you?
I mean, yeah, the developer capacity has less kids, but the lack of sobriety is still a choice.
That's true. See, this is why Guy is awesome. Okay, so Guy, like, tell us where you live, and how long have you been there? You love it or hate it?
I live in Columbus, Ohio. Well, suburban Columbus, Ohio. And I've lived here. I moved here in 1990 to go to college and
Oh
have
wow.
stayed here ever since. So I've been here for 30 years. I moved here from rural Ohio. So I'm as Ohioan as it gets. I was born here. I've lived here my entire life. Um, I like Ohio a lot. I like Central Ohio in particular.
So where were you like growing up?
As well,
Which part?
it's kind of a fun little story in a way. I'm from a little tiny town called Red Haw,
Hmm.
which is like redneck plus hee haw makes Red Haw. That's kind of what it is. A little intersection of a town with 75 people in it, in up in Ashland County. So that's the
Oh, I
little
see.
town I
Okay.
grew up in. Lived on a but I wasn't in Red Haw. I was outside of it in the greater Red Haw metropolitan area, and on a dirt road, across from woods behind me, soybean fields across the road from me. It was actually a really pleasant place to grow up.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, a lot of like free spirit, like the abolition spirit in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm an Ohioan. My ancestry hails from Appalachia. Actually, my grandfather was from Eastern Kentucky, and moved up when he was a kid to Akron. But I've been in Ohio my entire life. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a nice middle ground kind of place.
It is.
I describe Ohio as big enough that stuff happens, but not so big that stuff happens. So there's stuff to do, but the things that make the news usually don't happen here, and that's a nice balance. Whereas big stuff happens in big places, small stuff happens in small places. Ohio's in between, and so stuff happens, but it's all good stuff.
Yeah, and for what it matters. Like I've lived in Columbus, Ohio for like 7+ years, and we loved it. Yeah, Columbus is getting a little big maybe, but it's right there at the edges, like you said.
And you're right, Curious Drive. It's better to stay out of the news.
So Curious
Pro
Drive.
tip. Yeah, don't make the news.
Joins us for our streams. He's in Philly, so we're in the same state, but like 7 hours apart. And he gets all the news out of Philly. I get nothing, and that's good.
Yeah. I mean, Philly and Erie are in the same state, but they're not the same place.
No.
Different people.
Yeah, exactly. We're a little chimney that kind of sticks out unwantedly between Ohio and New York. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your job. Like, what do you do? How do you explain to people or kids like what you do?
I usually use the quote from Office Space and say, "I have people skills." But I'm a developer advocate, and so that means I have to be a developer, but I also have to be a people person. I say have to. It's really I get to. Right, because it's not like I have to go out and grunt out my peopleness. It's something that's sort of baked in, and being a developer advocate is great because it allows me to be a very extroverted type of person and still be a technical developer type person. And so it's kind of that intersection. A lot of the work is creating content, engaging developer communities by answering questions, being helpful. Building sample code and content around our company's product, going out and finding out what are pain points and advocating for improvements in the product internally to help improve the developer experience of using Redis, things like that. And so it's fun because I'm just slightly. I don't want to diminish people who have ADHD because that could be a serious problem, but I'm distractible. I'll say that. And being able to jump between different types of activity is good, because if I'm just heads down coding for a long time, after a while I get a little batty and I need to do something. I need some people, or I need to do some other kind of task. And this lets me bounce between different types of activities and do a wide variety of things. And so that's what I like about the job.
Well said. Well said. Like I'm distractible. Like that's a trademark.
Yeah. I usually drag everyone down with me too. So
I hear you. Yeah, but you're right. Like the whole developer advocacy, like 10 years back, was probably not as well understood. Like now, it's a craft that we're all trying to improve on every day.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more well known nowadays. Yeah.
So someday I'll be good at it. Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the imposter syndrome is real, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I have known you for years doing what you do, but how did you start? Like, did you always want to do computer stuff?
Yeah. So when it came into the computer field, it was a choice that I made early on in my childhood. In the early 80s, I decided that I wanted to be a computer programmer when I grew up, and so I pursued that. I read a book by, I can't remember the author, Shelley something or other. But she wrote this book called It's Basic that I read when I was in the 5th grade. So I'm in elementary school. And I was always reading books on science and stuff like that. And when I was little, I used to read the encyclopedia because I was curious about how the world worked. And I had a set of, World Book encyclopedias from the 60s that would tell me what everyone thought how the world worked in the 60s. But it was the 70s when I was reading them, so it wasn't really that far off at the time. But so I was always interested in science and technology and those sorts of things. And I remember as a kid wanting to, I'm like, I can't wait till I get in high school because I want to take algebra and Latin. Those are the 2 classes I wanted to take. Because Latin was like the language of science, and algebra was this math stuff that was in these books that I couldn't understand just by reading the encyclopedia. And I was always interested in those sorts of things. I found this book called It's Basic, which taught me line number basic, the 10 print guy, 20 go to 10 kind of stuff. And I read it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I get the idea. It like opened my eyes to the idea behind computer programming. This is what this is. Mm-hmm. This is how you program a computer. Is you give it a set of instructions, and it just blindly follows them. And and they introduced if statements and loops and the basic structures with line number basic, and the all important go-to, of course, which we still use to this day, right? And that sparked an interest. Then I watched Tron. that didn't hurt either. And so I decided I was going to be a computer programmer. And when I was in high school, I'm like, well, I'm going to take typing because I'll need to know how to type to be a computer programmer. And then I went off to college and studied it, and then pursued that career. It took me a long time before I realized that everyone else didn't have that clear of a vision for what they wanted to do when they grew up. Mm-hmm.
So you actually have a degree in computer science?
Well, I have a degree in computer information systems.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which is halfway between a computer science degree and an MIS degree. Yeah. So it was more technical, more technology, less management, but not a lot of theory. So I've had to learn that on my own over the years. Which in some ways
you knew like from the get-go, like what you are from early days, like what you wanted to do. Like what your passion was. But again, I mean, we were just talking about Jeff Blankenberg, who's a good friend of both of ours, and I had him on the show last week, and just so many of us in the industry do not have a formal degree, and as long as you can learn, as long as you can think straight, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, it's not like I'm using any of the languages that I learned in college, right? The one exception to that is SQL. I still run into use SQL occasionally. I learned that in college. But other than that, I mean, I learned C. I taught myself C++ in college because they weren't offering it, and I wanted to learn it. But I didn't. I've looked at C code like in the last month, but I haven't written any C code in a while. So I guess that's the other language that I still touch occasionally.
Yeah. So looking at what you do now. In your role, like what do you think is the most exciting part of what you do, and what are some of the challenging parts?
Well, hands down, the most exciting part is the part that I'm not allowed to do because we're in a pandemic. right? Which is go to conferences and speak to live audiences, right? That's just fun. I mean, I've given a lot of talks at conferences remotely, but it's not the same thing. We're doing here is pretty good, right? It's one-on-one.
It is.
And so we're actually interacting and engaging. But when you give a talk virtually, you just don't see the faces. You can't tell if your joke lands. You can't tell if everyone's checking their phone. You can't get that feedback that you get when you give a live in-person talk. And so that's hands down my favorite part is going and educating and entertaining an audience. And I mean, it's a nice bonus to go to other places too. Like,
absolutely.
I think the last time we saw each other in person was in Bulgaria, wasn't it?
Was it? Most likely. Because I was trying to think like Orlando, because like we have been, or maybe that was earlier. So you may be right. That was. Like,
I think the last time we was in Sofia. Yeah.
Wow, it was 2019.
Yeah, right. Were you at NDC? You weren't at NDC.
Not that year, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was, and I went to the last actual conference I went to was South Florida Code Camp, or South Florida Software Developers Conference. I think they've rebranded it.
Yeah. We all miss conferences and travel for sure. But again, I mean, all signs point towards things getting back to some form of normalcy later on this year.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Pandemics don't last forever.
Yeah. So. What are your challenges? What do you have to work hard towards?
There's we've been doing a lot of video content lately, which I enjoy. I think it's great. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy making it, but it's a skill set that I have been developing. And so it's been really challenging. Like if you try to do a polished, recorded, scripted video, I'm comfortable being off the cuff, impromptu, giving a live talk. I'm comfortable streaming. But when I sat down to read a script for a video, all of a sudden I was really wooden.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And there's just a I don't know what it is, but it's a skill you have to learn, and I just hadn't practiced reading prepared content like that, even though that I wrote the script and wrote it in a way that I would talk. And so that's been challenging. I've gotten better at it with practice, but it's just it's learning a new skill.
Yeah. Right? And like when you talk about like produced video, like you tend to like shoot for perfection, and it takes like forever to get things exactly right. Yeah. As compared to just like showing up and talking or coding, it's just a little more relaxed and casual.
Yeah. Well, we've started a series of videos where they're less produced, where we call them head in the corner videos, because it's here's my desktop and I'm down here head in the corner. And where we talk about different Redis things and even non-Redis things, showing how they work. And those are unscripted. I mean, you have an outline, but that's like giving a talk, right? If you're giving a live talk, it's like, well, here are my slides and the things I'm going to talk about, but I don't have it scripted. I mean, sometimes I've got my jokes pretty well rehearsed. They're pretty ingrained, but they're not scripted.
And I can speak to that. So I have sat through many of your talks, and you're brilliant. You're entertaining. You get the point across. But like the things that you talk about, and then let's kind of actually talk about the things that you speak on. Like you try to tie in machine learning and Redis and all that you are doing with some very interesting topics. Like I have seen you talk about, UFOs. I've seen you talk about Bigfoot. So how do you do that? Like, okay, give us a perspective of like where you stand with machine learning, and how do you find these tie-ins?
The tie-ins are. I'll talk about the machine learning first, and then I'll talk about the tie-ins. So where it stands with machine learning is that what I put in every single slide when I do a machine learning based talk is I am not a data scientist. I am in many ways I'm kind of a hack when it comes to machine learning. I've learned enough to understand it, Like I get in and I dive into how something works and try and get an intuitive understanding of it, because I don't have the math background to really to be a data scientist. Like I don't have the statistics. I took statistics in college. I don't remember any of it. It's where I'm at, right? And it was like the first statistics thing, right? And so what I try and do is, as a developer, understand how these algorithms work and how to use them without understanding the math, sort of get an intuitive understanding of them. And so I've done that with a few types of neural networks and some basic machine learning models like you get with scikit-learn. And not so much focused on how you train them, like the math behind training them, but just how the training process works and how the things work once they're trained. So I try to get just a intuitive understanding of it, and then I share that. And then I'll build a ridiculous demo, showing how the tech works. And the ridiculous demos are, it's hard to say where they come from sometimes. I spend a lot of time trying to think of good ideas, and lots of times, I'll be doing something like we're doing right now. We'll be having a conversation, and then we'll get on some tangent, and we'll think, we should do a talk. That would be a great theme for a talk, and that's ridiculous. And then I'll write it down, and then I'll save it for later. So a lot of these are, write them down when they come in the moment, and then use them. Some of them I'll try to create something entertaining, but it takes me days to come up with a really good idea. It's a lot of it's just hard work. I've done talks. I did a machine learning talk recently called Woodchucking, Predicting an Early Spring with Redis AI.
Who needs Punxsutawney, the beaver anymore?
Right, yeah. Well, I actually took the Punxsutawney Phil data and the weather data to make a model that would predict based on the weather whether he would see a shadow or not. And then extrapolated that with weather predictions from the NOAA to create a larger model that would take your location and your weather forecast and say whether he would see his shadow or not.
Nice.
And then I built this talk all around woodchucks, right? Or I did, and so sometimes the data is available. Like the machine learning ones, lots of times the challenge is the data being available. There's a guy that made data for Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings where I've used his data extensively. I did a Viking themed machine learning talk on convolutional neural networks. Called Deep Learning Like a Viking. And I actually made the data for that, where so what it was doing there is the classic problem for convolutional neural networks for image classification. Like the Hello World version of that is the MNIST digit classification problem, where there's this data set of 60,000 handwritten digits, 0 through 9. And you use that data set to build a model that can recognize handwritten digits in a little 24 by 24 matrix. And I said, that's neat and all, but I want to do different data. And so I had it recognize runes handwritten Viking runes, which is the runes are the alphabet that the Vikings used. And so I had to create my own data set. So I spent an entire day at work just drawing runes into this little application that I wrote so that I would have data. And so everyone could build a model that was overfit to my handwriting. So, that's the hard work part, right? Hands down, that's probably the strangest thing I've been paid to do.
And again, from experience, like you have a knack of like breaking down complex topics and ideas into very simple things, and then you clearly put in the work to have these like fun tie-ins, and you either have the data or you build it up. It just makes it very approachable. Like a difficult topic makes it very like understandable.
Well, thanks. That's what I'm trying to do, actually. But in a way, what I'm doing is I'm sharing. I broke it down like that so that I could learn it. Right. And so once I've learned the topic, then I can encode it in a presentation and share it with everyone else.
Sure.
And so this is kind of what I do is I learn a thing gets me excited, and then I share it with everyone. Yeah. That's really what I'm doing when I give a talk.
Absolutely.
It does put me in the awkward position of not being an expert on the thing I'm talking about.
Well, but you've put in some work, like you're sharing your passion, and then that's the story, that's the experience we're after. And Curious, I was asking, like, do you have any of your talks online? I would guess you do.
Yeah, I've spoken at a lot of conferences that have recorded me. Honestly, the easiest thing at Curious Drive is to just go out to youtube.com and type in my name, and then you'll find them. It's really that easy. My name's not common. If you Google me, I'm the only thing you'll find. You may also find a picture of me dressed as Santa Claus, making a rude gesture. Please ignore that one, or share it on Twitter as you like. Yeah.
Copper Beardy, good afternoon. Yeah, we have quite a beard collection here, and so
welcome, Copper Beardy. I'm Gray Beardy.
So Guy, you might find this funny. A lot of folks actually are going to tune in today at like 11 and we start back up. So we are doing on our stream what's called a love connection because it's Valentine's Day coming up. So we have broken up our team into two, and we have gotten like a blind dating thing going where we choose a third person and then we build an app with them, and it's a lot of fun. So
that is really fun.
One thing team is doing all kind of romantic things while our team is named Valentine's Grinch, so we are here to ruin it for you. And it's like we are building a flower like a florist website, and we are cool selling most types of flowers as long as it's not a rose, because the moment you search for a rose, we give you all of the horror weapons from like the classic like horror movies.
Yeah. Roses are a cliched flower to give anyhow. Your loved one wants something other than roses.
Yeah. Yeah. No dearth of beards, and our teammate is actually Chris DeMars, who's got a nice beard too now.
I haven't seen Chris in a while because pandemic, but we were just discussing the other day on a chat room about I went to the doctor the other day to get a blood draw for blood work, and for whatever reason, they couldn't find my veins. And so I got poked 6 times.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And they never did successfully get blood. And I'm like, and I said, so what's this part of your body called? Is it an elbow pit? Is that what it's called? And he informed me that it's called a ditch. And he knows that because that's what tattoo artists call it. He has a tattoo in his ditch, and that it hurt. That was my last interaction with Chris. So he has an impressive beard now as well, but he also has a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, he does, and he's into horror movies. Like he actually has like Mike Myers and Pennywise tattooed on his hands. Which is pretty fun.
Well, he's from Detroit, right? Yeah. It kind of all goes there. It's all part of the mystique of that city.
Yeah. Okay, so
I love it.
Sorry, go on. Yeah,
Detroit's just a fun place to visit.
It is. It gets a bad rap for wrong reasons, but it's great.
I mean, it could be Cleveland. I mean, come on.
Hey, I'm close to Cleveland.
I actually grew up out in the orbit of Cleveland. Red Hall is in the orbit of Cleveland. It's like an hour from Cleveland. So,
So you're into machine learning. You're into a lot of tech. But what is the technology that you've seen off late that really excites you?
WebAssembly, hands down. WebAssembly. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening in that space. I think, I saw it initially. I'm like, this is bytecode for the browser, which is exactly what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the idea is, hey, if we could compile code for the browser, then we could be freed of, shall we say, the tyranny of JavaScript. Now mind you, I like JavaScript.
You do JavaScript. You do a lot of JavaScript.
I do. I like JavaScript a lot, but it is like the only game in town for the browser.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, TypeScript and other languages, and that's true, but you're transpiling. You're still doing JavaScript at the end of the day. WebAssembly changes that metaphor so that you can actually run bytecode in the browser, much in the same way you run bytecode in the Java virtual machine or in the common language runtime in .NET.
Yeah.
But it's breaking out. It's branching out into server-side stuff, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so I've been playing with WASM time lately, which is a server side. It's like It's like Node for WebAssembly.
Mm-hmm.
It's providing server-side runtime, and there's some system extensions coming so that you can start doing file I/O and socket I/O. And it's really exciting space. I've been exploring ways that I can integrate it with Redis as well. Because WASM time has has a Python version, so you can load WebAssembly modules from Python. And Redis has Redis Gears, which lets me run Python code on Redis, and so I'm able to use that to get Python code on Redis, so that I can then justify doing a talk on WebAssembly for Redis. Yeah.
No, and I was going to say, like, what I appreciate is like me coming from a heavy .NET background and kind of seeing the Microsoft side of the story. We hear a lot about Blazor, while you take WebAssembly down to its basics and you try to explain what it is, and then how do you code against that. So yeah, I appreciate that.
It's like low level, but not low level.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun. So I like writing in WebAssembly text format, which is the assembly language for WebAssembly. Not because it's practical, because I really don't think it is, but because it's kind of fun. And it reminds me of writing like assembly code for the 6502 back in high school.
Oh, wow.
It has that sort of reminiscent quality to it that I like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever played with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any of it. It's been decades, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. It's low level for the browser, but not the operating system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Yeah. Yeah, cool. WebAssembly is definitely exciting. Let's talk about other things that you're into. Like, are you into gadgets? Like, what's your most favorite like tech thing that you own?
Right now, I bought a Stream Deck.
Yeah.
And ostensibly for streaming.
Like the smaller one or the
I got the XL one.
Nice.
Because it's actually just a macro board for my computer.
It is exactly. It's not. I mean, people use it for. Like, you could obviously use it for streaming, but I mean, you can automate so many things with it.
Yeah. I have a button. It's my Good Morning button, and it launches all the websites and applications that I use when I start my workday. Nice. And so I get in the morning, I set up my laptop, turn it on, hit the button, and it launches everything. Nice. You can do more sophisticated things than that with it. I know one of my coworkers, he uses it constantly for, like, when he's recording video. Obviously, you can use it for managing your scenes with OBS and stuff like that. But he's using it. He wired it up with VS Code and Git, so that he'll record a presentation, and it's got a series of Git commits. Nice. That represent the things he wants to talk about. The code, he doesn't want to spend all his time typing, and so he just keeps coding the Git commit forward. Yeah, he's got buttons on his Stream Deck to push it forwards and backwards. All kinds of integrations, and it's got an IFTTT integration. So
exactly. I was going to say,
as soon as you do that, you can do anything, right?
Exactly. Smart home, like, you can turn things on and off all day long.
It's a cool gadget. It's a little pricey, but I think the quality of the XL is worth the extra money.
Right. And I mean, you can make things look however they want. It's nice. It's your LED to light up however you want.
Yeah. I should. I've just got like the primitive, the El Cheapo LED strips here. I don't have any ones that are Wi-Fi capable, and so I have to use this rather low-tech remote to change them. But it'd be nice if I could do it on my Stream Deck.
Yeah. Can you change the color for us?
Yeah, sure. Let's. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Our house is all pink this week, which it looks a little awkward outside. Like, the garage lights look a little awkward in pink, but smart homes are fun. Yeah. All right, so you're obviously busy. You're doing a lot for work, and we love what you do for the developer community. You're always helping out at tech conferences. You're speaking. You're helping out everybody. But what do you do outside of work? Like, what's your, except for the pandemic, like, what's your work-life balance like?
Well, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Surprise.
Shocking, I know, right? Yes, these books right back here are D&D books, right? Above here is a collection of science fiction books. Again, shocking. I'm just an old nerd.
Nothing wrong.
And so I both play and run in Dungeons and Dragons games. I had given up video games for a long time, but I've discovered Dice and Sphere program, which I totally do not recommend because it's amazing.
Wait, what is this? What is this?
It's a video game called Dice and Sphere program.
Dice and Sphere. Okay.
And it's a factory simulator where you start out this little mecha, and then you have to go in and collect resources and build tools and do research, get more science to build better tools and better conveyor belts. And you create this big automated factory, and then you go to other planets and get resources from there and set up interplanetary logistics systems, all with the goal of building a Dyson sphere around the star that you start in.
Very cool. I gotta look this up.
And it's fun, and it scratches that same itch that programming does. Which is both good and bad. so I enjoy it thoroughly. it's the first game I've really gotten into in several years, because I've been trying not to do as many video games because they're a time suck.
Mhm.
But I'm indulging in this one, and once I build my Dyson Sphere, then I'll put video games away for a couple of years again, and do something else. Mostly work on D&D games, because that's also a very satisfying thing to do. So yeah, that's my main hobby. I really like linguistics and history as well. So I enjoy studying history, and I like the history of language and where those intersect. That's another armchair hobby of mine. So I'll read books and stuff on that topic, trying to understand where words come from and how languages evolve. And it's really, really interesting, actually, because there's this spectrum to it. Like it's not like one day a bell goes off and everyone stops speaking Middle English and everyone starts speaking modern English. That's not how it works. These words slowly fade over time, and their meanings slowly evolve and pronunciations evolve, and it's interesting watching that process.
There's something to be said about being a language nerd, and I know you are one. I remember, like you mentioned, like the last time we had seen each other was in Sofia, Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, beautiful city. And I mean, I've been there many times because that's where our engineering headquarters are. And that was the first time for you in Bulgaria, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I know, like, you did the research about the language, and you were talking about things that I had not known in the years that I've been there. So yeah,
I spent time learning Cyrillic.
Yeah, that's the basic stuff.
So that I could read the signs.
Bulgarian. Yeah,
exactly. I knew a lot of the signs were going to be English words that were transliterated, and so I figured if or they'd be cognates that I know from English or other languages. And so I remember being in an office and looking out, and there's looked like an auto mechanic kind of place there, and there was Cyrillic words on the sign, and it said gummy. I'm like, oh, that's a tire place. Because in Spanish, and other languages, they'll refer to tires as gummies, which is like the word for rubber, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so little things like that, where you just sort of connect the dots, and it's a fun hobby. I remember going past a place, and I'm like, oh, that's a liquor store because that says alcohol. It's whatever Bulgarian is for alcohol, which looks a lot like the English word alcohol. And it turned out it was useful, and it was kind of fun.
It's so much fun to kind of dig into the differences in languages and where things kind of stem from, rather than just like pulling up your Google Translate thing. Yeah, just to show an investment that you're wanting to learn. That's amazing. What about food? Do you cook? Do you have a favorite cuisine?
I love food. I love food a lot. I've loved food my entire life. I am a corpulent man because of my love of food.
I heard somebody say the other day, like, how people are either eat to live or live to eat.
Yeah.
And this person is like, I don't care. I just eat. If I live or not, that's a benefit, but I just eat.
Lately, actually, I'm home, just like everyone. And so I've been eating out less and cooking more. And I've recently started doing keto. So that's affected the food choices I make. And so I've been learning how to make a bunch of new recipes to do that, and losing weight, actually. Yeah, so I'm becoming less corpulent. Would I be decorpulating? Is that the word?
No.
But I've been making a lot of stir fries.
That's good.
And which are pretty tasty.
Yeah, I think 2020 saw us all kind of be stressed, and like the pandemic 10 pounds that you put on, and then we all realized that this might be on for a while, and then we have all kind of started making healthier choices.
Yeah. People have been referring. Sorry, people have been referring to it as the COVID-19. It's the 19 pounds you gained over the pandemic.
Yeah,
which is kind of clever. But I think some people it's been unfortunately more like 40. Which is a lot of weight to gain in a relatively short period of time. So I'm doing the opposite. I'm losing the COVID-19. So
and keto is great. You can debate on some of the benefits and what you might be missing out, but it's good. And it's just like the sugar part of it is the one that hurts the most. I was having a conversation with actually Jeff Frankenberg where sugar is just everywhere in everything we eat, and if we can start cutting that a little bit, I think that helps.
Well, that's the thing I miss, actually. I don't really miss the bread and stuff like that. I miss the cookies.
Yeah.
and the cakes and the sugary things. Those are the things that I miss.
I bet.
But it's the sacrifice I make to look this good.
And you do look good. All right. So if you had $1 million right now, what would you do?
Retire.
But I'm sure you'll
actually $1
still
million's
do
not enough to
things.
retire, right?
Yeah.
If I had $1 million right now, I would actually the first thing I would do is I'd pay off my house. I mean that's kind of a mundane thing to say, but yeah,
No,
I don't.
It's important. Yeah.
And then I would buy land, and then maybe take a year off. But $1 million isn't quite enough for me to retire yet. I'm not old enough. If I was maybe in my early 60s, yeah, I'd retire. But I'm in my late 40s, and so I've got a good 15, 20 years left in my career. $1 million wouldn't sustain me for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
But obviously, if I came into a big pile of money, if I won like $10 million, I would just retire and work on the technology things that just get me excited. I'd still go to conferences and talk and do tech stuff.
Yeah.
I just would be doing it solely for me.
Sure.
And yeah, I think that would be a really nice retirement. It's like, what are you doing? WebAssembly. Why? Because it's cool, right? Right. But for a smaller lottery sum of money, I've always wanted. I like camping. I don't like hunting and fishing, but I like camping and I like being out in the woods. And I would buy some land, probably down in southeastern Ohio. Set myself up a little cabin down there, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
yeah,
and then I'd save the rest and figure out something else to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good life.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've actually been looking at property down in southeastern Ohio anyhow, and just thinking it's like, well, maybe I can get some 40 acres and wooded, hilly 40 acres. Looks like they go for about 50, 60 grand right now. So that's totally attainable. Hopefully I'll be own my own woods. And then once I do, I'll get a cabin down there built and get a road put in and set up a nice fire pit, and we'll have a kegger. Yes. You can come on down and we'll have a DevRel community kegger.
Nice. All right. So looking short term, maybe for the rest of this year, like what are some things you are looking forward to in life and in like technology?
Actually, I mean, there's a WebAssembly tech thing that I'm looking forward to, which is, the specs are still, the systems interfaces are still not where I want them to be, because these things just take time, right? And that's really the bottom line. It just takes time. And so I'm looking forward to actually having full socket IO support in WebAssembly, so that I can start building WebAssembly modules that access network services, which is everything, right? That's like, once you can do that, that opens up everything. Right. And it's almost there. And so I'm looking forward to that. Things at work, we're doing a big push for our YouTube channel to try and to grow it. And so I'm looking forward to that. I like making videos. I like producing that kind of content, even though, I know I said at the beginning it's a learning curve, but it's a fun challenge to learn that. And trying to produce a really solid content that helps grow a channel, I think is I think enjoyable, rewarding, and valuable, honestly, to the community. It's like, here's how to do things that you would care to do in a convenient 15 to 30-minute video format.
Right.
So
that's a good time for a video. Yeah, just take somebody down a path and quickly show them what to do. Yeah, that's a good time.
The one I'm working on right now involves Bigfoot.
Surprise!
Shocking, I know. Well, I needed, I'm using Redis search to do it, and so I want to have a video, finding Bigfoot with Redis, right? But it's a good data set for showing off ways of searching for data, and so gonna do that. And I mean, that's actually what I'm going to be working on this afternoon, is working on the sample code for all of that, and other things. I'm looking forward to, but the WebAssembly thing from a tech point of view is probably the thing that I'm anxious to see happen, because it's got so much potential, and I want it to be realized. You know, that's really what it boils down to. I want the browser to be liberated of to do whatever language you want, and I want the server side. I like the idea. I think the compelling thing with the WebAssembly on the server side is that it's sort of like a free and open VM.
Right.
So, you know, you've got the JVM, which is basically Oracle. You've got the CLR, which is .NET. You've got some other languages that are a little more free than that. But WebAssembly it's just a pure standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's being an open standard like that means that lots of people can do things with it. It's unconstrained in ways that I think is exciting. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Well said. And Curious Drive, you're right. It's all about quality content.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So try not to suck. That's my mission this year.
you can beat around the bush, but then eventually people see through it if you
have quality content. Well, I was thinking about making ways to use Redis with this, and you won't believe this one weird trick. Maybe some really clickbaity things. That'll work, right? Yeah. We have talked about doing that with our a little bit of team internals here, but we've talked about using that sort of clickbaity headline as getting, everyone has that call out to, click like and subscribe and all those things, sort of that thing at the end of the video. And, everyone just stops listening at that point. And I was thinking about doing that as sort of a cliched, learn how to get notified of new videos using this one weird trick. Spoilers, it's clicking the subscribe button. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna be a TikToker. That's gonna be me. Yeah,
I've got to be good.
TikTok written all over me.
You'd be surprised, like Scott Hanselman from Microsoft. Like he does TikTok now, and it's really funny. So
I may have to check it out. I haven't even looked at TikTok. I just thought I just assumed it was for young people.
No, next thing you know, it's like TikTok for business.
Yeah, TikTok.biz. Yeah. TikTok.dev. Yeah.
Why not? All right. Well, Guy, I want to thank you for just taking the time to come and hang out. Like, this is like where we are at a conference. We are sitting down in the hallway over a cup of coffee or some other type of beverage that we shall not name, but just hanging out, and just talking about the things that we are passionate about. So I appreciate this, and you inspired a lot of us in the way you speak, in the way you have a grasp of technology, and how you want to bring it to everybody and then bring them along for the ride. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thanks a lot, Sam. That's really very kind words, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. So, folks, if you want to find Guy this way, that's his Twitter handle right down there, and I'm sure you can also find him on YouTube or other places. Not TikTok yet. So go find Guy. He's amazing. And
I think tonight I'm going to set up a TikTok account.
That's your thing for tonight.
All right, and if you want to find me online, just honestly Google my name and you'll find me. I have guy.dev as a domain name, and I'm at guyroyse.com.
Awesome. All right, folks. Normally this is the last show of the week, but today's special. So we are actually doing another 5-hour stream right after this, coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern here.
So I'm the warm-up act. Yeah.
Well, no. We're going to do live coding and kind of stumble through it, but just going to have fun selling horror weapons instead of roses. So that's coming up at 11. And so here's the thing, like, we chose our teammates out of like a blind pool of candidates, and the folks who we did not choose get to be the judges. So this is fantastic. So that's coming up later on this afternoon, folks. So come and join us. But one more time, Guy, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being awesome. And that's it from us on Chatshow. We'll see you next Friday.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right, thank you, and have a good day.